Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Rashid Sahaba, if, with your permission, we have a few questions. There are two questions
Yes.
from our previous class. Even though those are two questions, but I believe it can be answered in one answer. So let me go ahead and ask with your permission.
Yes.
Question was, can you elaborate on our rites and rituals we practice on daily basis and few of the majalis, if not all? How do we see Batin in them? And the following second question was, how do I teach my children about the Batin of our tariqah?
Okay. Yes, this question came up last time and probably didn't have much time to answer that. So, following the principle of Zahir and Batin, of course, our rites and ceremonies, everything in our tariqah has an external, exterior, Zahir, and then an interior, Batin, and not just one level of Batin, maybe more. Depending on your Farman Bardari, on your devotion to the Imam, you may get more and more answers as you practice your rites and ceremonies. Okay. So now, last time we had mentioned, because somebody had asked about the Jamaat Khana, and I had made the point that the Jamaat Khana is the house of Noor, because the Imam himself says that I am in every Jamaat Khana, every day, everywhere. So, and the Ginan say that, it is the ocean of Noor. The minute we enter Jamaat Khana, we say, Hayyu Zinda. Hay is Arabic, Zinda is Persian, Farsi, but they have the same meaning. Hay means living. And whoever is close by and has heard this, they will reply, Qayyum Painda. I know that it has now evolved into Kayampaya, but its original form is Qayyum Painda. And Qayyum is Arabic, Painda is Farsi, and Qayyum Painda means, yes, not only is he living, he is ever living, everlasting. So this is the esoteric meaning, if you like, even the verbal meaning, and you can go deeper into this and say that look throughout the history of religion. Has there been any time when God has abandoned his creatures and not sent them a guide? This is the concept here. Okay, then we go and do Dua Karawi. Dua Karawi is a reaffirmation of our Bayya. Now, Bayya is a Quranic concept. The Prophet had Bayya with his murids. Today, Bayya is in the Ismaili community predominantly, and in some Sufis, Sufi tariqas who have taken quite a few things from us. They have Bayya to their sheikh. We have Bayya to the Imam of the time from the direct descent of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And what is Bayya? Well, I would suggest you look at the preamble of the Constitution, paragraph D. The authority of the Imam in the Ismaili Tariqah is testified by Bayya, by the Murid to the Imam, which is the act of acceptance by the Murid of the permanent spiritual bond between the Imam and the Murid. Beautiful word. Permanent. Many people are afraid of leaving the physical life. But if you know that your bond with the Imam is a spiritual bond and it's permanent, you know that in the spiritual world also your bond will be there. And Bayya means to buy and to sell. Because Arabic is amazing in this way that it has many words which have opposite meanings. So to buy and to sell. What? Plenty of Quranic ayahs to refer to, but let's just first say that we are selling our souls to the Imam and he is buying them from us. And in return for that, he will give you paradise. If you want a Quranic reference instantly, it is Surah 9, Tawbah, and the ayat is 1 or 3. that God buys your lives and your wealth in return for which he gives you paradise. So that's the meaning of bayya. Very quickly, because this is a session where there are the questions as well. In the same way, our dua, look at our dua, every part is Imam al-Hazir al-Mawjood. You should know the meanings, the deeper meanings of. In another farman, Maulana Hazir Imam had said, it is not enough for you to know the verbal meanings. You should know the concepts which are behind. So what is the concept? Let's just pick up one phrase from the Atiullah wa Atiur Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. Who are the ulil amr? Who are the possessors of the divine command? Why should we obey them? Is our obedience going to help them, do good things for them, or is it going to do good things for us? And so on and so forth. Our Nandi is a token of our love and devotion. Walaya, which is the first pillar of Shia Islam. That Nandi is a token, just a symbol of our love, that we cannot eat from our food unless we consider that the Imam has shared our meal. And in the same way, the majalis are linked to our history, and of course, Baitul Khayal, which is a whole topic, and inshallah, if you all allow me, we shall have a session on that sometime. But everything in the Ismaili Tariqah has meaning, and it is the human intellect who should engage to understand the meaning more and more deeply. I think we should, I will finish this answer at that point.
Thank you so much. One question from your reference of Surah 5, Ayah 67 from our dua, Ya Rasul Balligh. In that ayat, it mentions that Allah will protect you from the Nas or the people. The question comes, was Prophet Muhammad afraid of the people? How do we understand this portion of this ayat?
Okay, I think I will explain that, but I would also recommend here, I really strongly recommend that all of you, if you have not already done it, I think some of you have, please read a book called After the Prophet by Leslie Hazelton. She's a Jewish English lady who lives in Seattle, America. And she's written this book, which is very readable, and it is also online. You can get it as an e-book. We should do things like that, right? It's important for us and our children and our future generations. Okay. Was the Prophet afraid of the people? The simple answer is that if you look at it historically, yes. The Prophet himself had to leave Makkah, his birthplace, in the middle of the night because they were going to assassinate him, martyr him. So this is why I said earlier that to know our history is so essential. You cannot do without knowing our history. That the Prophet had enmity throughout his life. It was not easy for him. Now, for instance, let me just give you a corollary. Look at what Hazrat Imam does for the entire world today. Does he still not have criticism and bad words and scandal mongering and character assassination against him? So the Prophet, at the beginning of this mission, of course he faced a lot of, and because Hazrat Ali was so close to him, Hazrat Ali was brought up in the Prophet's house. And Hazrat Ali was very, very, loved by, I am from Ali, Ali is from me. I and Ali are the parents of the Ummah. Words like this, And in the household of the Prophet, there were certain personalities who had vested interests. I'm afraid we have to mention names. We have to mention people like Aisha. the wife of the Prophet, you know. If you read Oriental literature, they'll all tell you that she was his favorite wife. Whose daughter was she? Hafsa. Whose daughter was she? And were there, read Surah Tahrim, Surah 66, very short, only 12 ayats. In it, their names are not mentioned, but God is warning the Prophet against two of his wives. Who are these? Ibn Hanbal, no, Ibn Bukhari, the most famous Sunni hadith collector, Sunni, yeah, he actually says in his hadith that these two names which are not mentioned in the Quran were Aisha and Hafsa. So from the age of, being born, Hazrat Ali had enemies. And because he was Insani Kamil, he was perfect in everything. Nobody could defeat Maulana Ali. Maulana Ali's oratory, nobody could imitate that. Maulana Ali's knowledge, he composed Arabic grammar. Maulana Ali's poetry, his divan, collection of poetry, nobody could imitate that. So all these things made people around him jealous. And people are always, Maulana Sultan Shah, in his memoirs, when he describes the situation at the time of the Prophet's passing away, he says that there were three things there which were against the Prophet and his descendants. Greed, oratory, and the sudden, the necessity to take advantage of a material situation. Strike while the iron is hot. And they did strike while the iron is hot. You should all know that Maulana Ali was busy burying the Prophet. This is a Arabian desert. You don't keep bodies in this heat. They have to be buried on the same day. So while the Hazrat Ali is busy with that, what happens? Abu Bakr and Umar go off to a meeting place and they have a so-called election. And you know what Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, you know what he said? He said that the material world was so sweet, so loved by these companions of the Prophet that they abandoned the body of the Prophet and they went after the world. That's what he says in his divan, in his Masnavi rather. So yeah, we should know our history, and not because we are going to start accusing people. That is not our Imam's policy. Our Imam's policy is forgive and forget. But for our own sake, for our own understanding, and for our own strength of belief. I hope I have answered enough for that.
Thank you, Rashida Sahaba. The next question I have, and to the people online, we have about 7 or 8 more minutes. So if you have any question, go ahead and send now, or we can hold until next week. So this question is a kind of lengthy question, but I'm going to try not to read the entire paragraph. Just a short question. That we notice that our tariqah or the rites and ritual are much less physical and bodily action than compared to the Shariat. So first question is, how is that possible if we are all in one single religion? And second, is it due to the time of Qiyamah or is it due to the time and age?
Okay, so the simple answer to this question about differences within the different interpretations in Islam is that the Quran itself in Surah Al-Fatiha talks about 3 ways. The Sirat al-Mustaqim, the path of those who are favored, and then the other 2 paths, the path of those who have gone astray, and the path of those on whom with whom Allah is not very pleased, is angry, okay, is ghazab. Okay, so the differences are there, and that is the whole reason why Maulana Hazar Imam is promoting pluralism, that we, in spite or despite our differences, we should understand each other and understand where we are coming from. Okay. So when Islam, the Prophet introduced Islam, that was a time of Sharia. The beginning of the Sirat al-Mustaqim was Sharia. Very strict, do this, don't do that. Right? Very much on the material level, with lots of actions, etc., lots of things which you had to do in order to have your prayer accepted. Then the next stage in Islam is called Tariqah, and that is where the Sufis belong, because they don't do just the Sharia practices, they also do Nawafil, they do additional zikr, etc., and spiritual discipline. Then comes the level of Haqiqah, and we Ismailis are on this level. And on this level, our ibadah is not physical, as the person who was asking the question has said, but more what Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah calls mental prayer. Now, what we should be asking is that is this type of mental prayer mentioned in the Quran? Very much so. I would like to give one ayat. Please go and refer to it and see for yourself. This is ayat, it's in Surah Ankabut 29, and the ayat is 45, which tells you that Salah, you know what in Farsi is called namaz, either Sharia to prayer, Salah is there, God has made that for you to protect you from lewdness, from evil. But Zikrullah Akbar, but the zikr of Allah, the remembrance of Allah is greater. This is in the Holy Quran. You know, where do you think Pir Sadruddin got his Ginan words like Uthte, Bethte, Raah Chalante, Naam Alije, Sahib Ji ka? That's in the Quran, Surah 3, ayat 191, I think. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Which says that those who remember God standing, sitting, or lying on their sides, and who reflect on their environment, on nature, these are the people who are very much loved by God. So, what we need to understand is that just as Sharia is in the Quran, so is Tariqah, so is Haqiqat, so is Marifat. And the answer is that we Ismailis believe that our faith is a dynamic faith. It is evolving, progressing, going towards its goal. And what is the goal? The goal is he or she who recognizes himself or herself recognizes his or her Lord. That is our goal. To recognize our own soul in order to recognize God, our Creator. And in this this mission, this goal of self-recognition and the recognition of God, we need the guidance of the Imam. I wish sometimes members of our Jamaat would ask this question in a converse way. They should ask this question, how come we Ismailis believe in an Imam when the majority of the Ummah don't? Do they ever ask this question? And the Haqiqat is always more demanding. It's more demanding intellectually and physically and spiritually. For instance, on the level of Haqiqat, our zakat is 12.5% of our earnings. Whereas on the level of Shariat, it is only 2.5% if you have any savings. So we shouldn't be under any misperception or misunderstanding that ours is easier. No. As you go towards your goal, things get more difficult. They are more challenging. They require more engagement. Mental prayer. What a wonderful phrase Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah Salawatullahi alayhi has given. Mental prayer. Maulana Hazar Imam chose that ayat from Surah 49, ayat 13, that who is the noblest in the eyes of Allah? The one who is atqakum, who is the most muttaqi, pure, ethics, thoughts, feelings. You know, these are the things we should reflect on. That religion is about your whole being, not just your body. It's about your soul and it is about your intellect. I think I will stop there because, yeah, there was this mention about, is it to do with Qiyamah? Yes, of course it's to do with Qiyamah as well. We Ismailis practice the Sharia for 500 years. From the time of the Holy Prophet and Maulana Ali, you all know that Maulana Ali was martyred in a masjid, don't you? What was he doing? He was prostrating, he was in sujood. That's why that Ibn Muljam was able to strike him. Otherwise, if he had been face to face with Maulana Ali, he would have never been able to strike Maulana Ali. Maulana Ali was la fatah illa Ali. So, yes, we practice Sharia for 500 years. But at the time of Alamut, Maulana Hassan Allah Zikrihi Salam declared Qiyamah. And he elevated us from the level of Sharia to the level of Hakika. And we should remember that we are not missing anything. Because when you transfer from primary school to secondary school, you don't miss your primary school because all that you have learned is within you. And now you are going to progress it to secondary and higher education level. In the same way, the essence of the Sharia is within us. It has already, we've already practiced it and experienced it. It is within us. And we are now going forward, not backwards. And one final point which is also important, you know, which is that if we have the Imam of the time, Imam is Zaman, then we should behave according to his commands, because his function, his role is to guide us according to the time in which we live. You know, we are known as Ibnul Waqt. Ismailis are known as Ibnul Waqt, the children of the time. There's a French book on us which is, you know, has used this as a title. The children of the time, meaning we progress with the time without abandoning any of our principles. Thank you.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah. So Rashida Saiba, just for your information, that friends online and in the group, they have shared all 10 of the ayat reference that you have mentioned and all the books that you have mentioned. They have also shared those articles or the paragraph or the book, entire books in the group. So we have all this literature that you mentioned, and we have all this ayat, and it is posted on the group. So if somebody did not have a paper and pencil today, they would have it in the group. But we truly appreciate your time and knowledge. This was much more than we expected. And this was much more deeper knowledge than we could even think of. So we truly appreciate it, and we hope that you will come back on this line soon rather than later and give us more time and knowledge. Thank you so much.
Inshallah, if Mola wishes, I also want to, because I don't feel that there is enough time, to completely answer people, but I would recommend to the person who asked about the Sharia and the Hakika and the change, the evolution, please go to the www.monoreality.org website and go into Dr. Hunzai's file and read the article on a living branch of Islam, the Ismailis of Hunza. The name is there because of the publication in an Italian academic journal, but it's actually about our Ismaili Tariqa, okay? The first half of it is about our history, and how our rights and practices changed. And it's a very short article, 5,000 words. So if you don't read the entire article, because the second half is about the history of Ismailis in Hunza, you can read the first half. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. बहुत नवाजिश याली मदद तमाम साथियों को thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next Sunday. याली मदद याली मदद.
Mola Ali Madad to all of you. May Mola give you more and more knowledge. Ameen.
Ameen.
Thank you very much
Yali
indeed.
Madad.
Yali Madad, which group is the material posted in?
On Sunday group. If you don't have it, please text to Kamle Sahib in this group and he will forward it to you.
Okay, I can